All right. Today we're going to start with geometry. Geometry. Yeah, I know it's dumb. Anyway, we're starting with geometry, and we'll be starting with lines and angles. A lot of this may be review for you, and it may not be, but you're going to need to know the concepts of these kind of angles and these kinds of lines because the terminology will be used, and the concepts are not going away. They're just going to be there forever. So let's get to it. All right, intro to geometry, lines and angles. We're going to start over here talking about the different kinds of lines, basic types of lines. We're going to talk about this, which you probably already know what that is, and then these and the specific names that will be used for those and how to tell them apart. First off, these are parallel lines. Parallel lines, they never meet. There are arrows on both sides, meaning they extend in both directions. That's a line. There's something with a dot or a point, and it goes to an arrow. That is a ray, but we're not covering that this time. But these are lines, so they extend infinitely in both directions, but they never meet. That's parallel. Some people refer to these, for example, to these as railroad tracks or something, but these are parallel. Notice that there's parallel lines in the word. Yeah, I know, it's dorky, but hopefully that'll help you remember the name. Parallel lines. Now, if we have lines here, notice that they cross. So they do cross at a certain point. These are called intersecting lines. Intersecting lines. These are lines that intersect at a given point. Now, there are lines that intersect forming various angles, which we're going to get to here in a little bit. Various angles, but they're all intersecting lines. However, if they intersect forming a special angle, a right angle, an angle of 90 degrees. And if one forms that way, these will all be 90 degrees. If they form at 90 degrees, they have a very special name. Yes, they're intersecting lines, but they get the name perpendicular line. Perpendicular lines. These are specifically lines that intersect at a 90-degree angle. So yes, these are both intersecting lines, but just to keep the vocabulary straight so people automatically know what you're talking about, if somebody says perpendicular, they mean lines that form 90-degree angles. They cross exactly like that. And that's pretty much it for the different kinds of lines. There are more types and things like that, but this should cover you for probably where you're going on if you're at this level watching these already. This is obviously a circle, or maybe not obviously, maybe you didn't know that. But this is a circle. It has a center point, and it's an equal distance all the way around from the center point out, all the way around, forming a circle. And we'll get into more depth about circles, how to measure the distance around, how to measure how much the area it'll take up if you're going to fill it with carpet or grass or paint or something. We'll get into that. But for now, realize that a circle, the way we measure that, yes, feet, inches, meters, those kinds of things, but to measure, say, the amount of the circle from here to here, that's measured in something called degrees. You might think of certain degrees outside. Well, it's the same word, but it means slightly different things. The circle is broken up into 360 imaginary segments, and each one of those segments is called a degree. Each one of those. Now, there are 360 degrees. They go all the way around the circle, 360 degrees. You might have heard some phrases, some people talk about do a 180. You're going this way, you do a 180. Well, you just went 180. You did half the circle. You didn't go all the way around. That would be a 360. Wasn't that pretty? Anyway, 360 goes all the way around. 180 goes halfway, which we'll see that. So just remember this. You're going to need to know this, that a circle has 360 degrees. That's going to have to be automatic before too long. Up here we're doing angles. Angles is the measure of the distance in degrees of a certain portion of a circle. The bigger this area, say this area here with the squiggles, and you wouldn't measure it in squiggles of course, but this would be more degrees than just that one. So up here, the angles have certain names depending on how big or small they are. Some, if they're measured exactly, they get a special name. Up here, first of all, this point from which both lines or both rays go, this is called a vertex. That's the vertex here. And the angle is the measure in here. If the measure is smaller than straight up and down, if it's smaller than that, it's called an acute angle. That one is an acute angle. One way you might remember it is little things. We think typically little things, oh, they're cute. Little puppies, little kitties, little something. But then they grow up and then they're just, what they are. But when they're little, they're cute. See what I think? Acute angle. But it's an acute angle. Don't just put cute angle. It's an acute angle. It's small. Okay, here we have it larger than straight up and down. That is called obtuse. So this, think of that as a mouth, obtuse. Or back in the day, some people used to say if someone did something socially kind of not really acceptable in a given crowd, man, that's obtuse. It kind of goes beyond what really ought to be there, uncool. Obtuse. So this one that does go straight up and down, and straight side side, forms a right angle. Now this little square in there, that tells people who understand this that that is 90 degrees. That's what that means. An acute angle is less than 90. It's between 0 and 90. An obtuse angle is greater than 90, but less than 180. If it's exactly 90, it has to be exactly. That is called a right angle. That's just the name of that. This is a right angle. Remember, on the perpendicular lines intersected forming right angles. That would be perpendicular lines. Now going on to here, well, what if it goes exactly straight? Now what would this be? If this was 90, going straight up and down, and you doubled it, well, that would be 180. So this is 180 degrees. It is half of the circle. You start here and go all the way over, forming the straight line across. That would be 180. This is called a straight angle because it is a straight line. It is a straight angle. Also a straight line. You're measuring from here to here, or from here to here, or from there to there. You don't always have to measure the right way. Whether you're going from here to there, or from there backwards, whichever way, it measures the same. Now what if it's more than 180? Yes, we can measure this side, but let's say we're not measuring that side. For whatever reason, we need to know that. That is called a reflex angle. Reflex angle. The way to remember this one might be like your leg here. You hit that, and you get a reflex. That's the same kind of thing here. You hit it, that's the reflex. So you have a reflex angle. Maybe that will help us stick. But again, we have acute angles because they're small. Obtuse angles because obtuse, they're big. Then we have the right angle. It's right straight up and down and right sideways. And then we have the straight one. It goes and forms a straight line by 180 going halfway. And then we have the reflex angle, which is more than that. Some of the key angles you're going to need to know is you're going to need to know this one for sure. That a right angle is 90. You're going to need to know that. You're going to need to know what this is, 180. Then there is an also angle. It doesn't have a special name. It is a reflex angle. But if it goes exactly all the way around here, going straight down, where this would be 90, but we're measuring around here, that's 270. So realize that this, if we were measuring angles, each one of these segments is 90 degrees as you measure yourself around the circle. Anyway, that's it. Introduction to lines and angles as we start to talk about geometry and future sessions. See you then.